Just last week, Montana State Representative Zooey Zephyr has scolded his fellow state representatives during a legislative session. This dude, and yes, I said dude, that's not hate speech, YouTube, but I'll do my best to just refer to him by name. So anyway, this dude, Zooey, while being a proponent to a state bill that would prohibit gender affirming care for children, stood up and said this to his contemporaries.
By this bill and by what these amendments do, if you are forcing a trans child to go through puberty when they are trans, that is tantamount to torture. If you vote yes on this bill and yes on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation, when you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands.
Hey, look, I understand when people are emotional and are passionate about a particular issue or bill, but there are House rules for the quorum that each representative needs to adhere to in order for, civil discourse to reign during discussions. Otherwise, nothing will be accomplished. How can one be a lawmaker, but at the same time not follow the rules that you signed up for when you became a representative? Now, after this, Zooey was reprimanded by the House Speaker to where Zooey could not speak on any bills. And of course, just like in Tennessee, whenever you punish someone for breaking the rules, protest ensues.
On Wednesday, she refused to apologize. The Republican majority unanimously voted to ban Zephyr from the floor for the rest of the legislative session, which ends in a few weeks.
If you could do this over, would you do anything differently?
I am proud for standing up for my community, and I would never change standing up for my community and my constituents.
Now, it was reported that 7 people were arrested, but then released without even posting bail. So basically it was just a slap on the wrist. And Jack just tells me that these acts and rude behaviors are encouraged, as the punishment doesn't even fit the crime. But what Zooey did here, as well as the Tennessee 3 did about a month ago, where 3 Tennessee legislators also broke House rules and incited a protest over gun reform in the state of Tennessee, after the whole Christian school shooting by a transgender man. Those 3 legislators were condemned as courageous and noteworthy. By who? Not by same people who believe in order and dignity for others that you disagree with, but this behavior is supported by who else? Radicals. Radical democracy isn't nothing new in American culture. The name just changed to progressiveness. That basically they seek advancement through some type of social reform. Looking back at history during the Civil War in the 1860s, a radical party was formed called the Radical Democracy Party. And they were abolitionists fighting against, slavery, which I'm sure most of us would agree with was wrong. But nowadays, the radicals are fighting against social norms like gender and sexuality, and also self-preservation norms like gun control that could lead to the removal of guns that are owned by law-abiding citizens, and abortion rights that encourage killing off your offspring, outside of extreme circumstances like rape and the compromise of a woman's health. But they're advocating for these things. Remove of your gun and kill off your offspring. Just look at the numerous radicals that have entered the Democratic Party since 2018, and the things they advocate. From the whole entire squad, whereas you talking about Ayanna Pressley, she's wanting to lower the voting age from 18 to 16. Ilhan Omar, who makes public anti-Semitic statements, and she also wanted a nationwide minimum wage to $15. You got Rashida Tlaib, who back then was calling the President Trump a mother effer, and then there's Cori Bush, who's basically advocating the defunding police. And I'm not going to even mention AOC because pretty much everything that woman says is just nonsensical. Now, that was just radicalism from the federal level. So now in the past midterm elections in 2022, on the state levels, I mean, already we have seen 3 legislators that publicly went radical, from Zooey Zephyr to Justin Pearson and Justin Jones in Tennessee. And unfortunately, there are more to come, as just recently another transgender lawmaker in Minnesota, Representative Leah Finke, is making waves as he's attempting to pass a bill called the Take Pride Act. This bill basically would amend the state's human rights bill by removing the language "sexual orientation does not include a physical or sexual attachment to children by an adult." I mean, are you serious? Do we not see where this stuff is going? This man, who is now a lawmaker in the state, is wanting to remove language because he deems this language as anti-pedophile. I mean, don't strike me for this, YouTube. I'm just reading what's in the news. You know, they're telling us. If you refuse to listen, that's your prerogative. Now, for clear understanding, I'm not saying this is Zooey Zephyr's angle by condemning his fellow lawmakers for voting against gender affirming care. What I'm saying is that don't fall for their emotional manipulation. You know, like the famous statement you hear a lot nowadays, "Oh, do you want a dead son or a living daughter?" I say neither, because I don't subscribe to your false belief that kids need a drug that will destabilize their natural hormones in order to save them from gender dysphoria. I mean, the hormone suppressors are not even FDA approved to be used this way. So basically, these lawmakers and proponents, they want the public at large to use experimental drugs on their children. Reminds me of another medication or treatment that wasn't FDA approved, and people insisted that you take it. You know, I can't recall what it was. Maybe you can remind me in the comment section. But these radicals, man, or like I said earlier, progressives in our state legislative body will continue on this movement, as these 2 incidents, you know, the one in Montana and Tennessee, are setting a successful blueprint. You know, don't be surprised if Zooey Zephyr is invited to the White House and or receive some type of high-level endorsement that will boost Zoe's clout. I mean, he has nowhere to go but up from here. And a huge supporter in the same house is S.J. Howell, who identifies as non-binary. This person will just ride Zoe's coattail and move up as well, as he or she, I can't tell by looking at this individual, has reached out to numerous LGBTQ advocacy groups like GLAAD, who are now marking Zoe as a martyr fighting on behalf of free speech and democracy. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Like they say, rules for thee, not for me. I mean, so tell me what I miss. I mean, do you think Zoe should be censored for what he said and not apologizing? I'd like to hear.